So it might be an addiction. It might be an affair. Men are strange creatures. Something puts you there. Men don't just evolve to something where they are. Something will take you there. So the very thing that took you there, they shouldn't have taken you there. That's the thing you take out of the equation. When I was like at the bottom of the pit, when I was busy with all my nonsense, I don't want to betray too much. But I used to cry to God, I said, I can't do this anymore. And I don't ever want to say I audibly heard the voice of God, but this is what I felt like every time in my spirit, like this soft voice again, my son, just stop drinking.
Unfiltered AF, real ones rise, no mask, no flex. Lights on, mic check is next. This is the truth, unfiltered AF.
From founding a very successful business today, 26 years ago, we are visited by Shawn Venter, the founding member of SVA Holdings. Shawn, welcome.
Wow, thank you. I like the introduction.
Short and
Sweet.
So Shawn, welcome to our studio today. Welcome to Unfiltered AF today. We had a bit of a chat before the time, and this is really going to be an unfiltered episode, right?
Most definitely, yeah.
So Shawn and I have known each other now for a year or two. And Shawn, with interest, I've been noticing what you do and your business and all of that. And you started as a small retail security company. And today it's called SVA Holdings. Please tell us, what does this mean? What does SVA mean?
The short version or the wow version?
The unfiltered version.
The unfiltered version.
Yeah.
Okay, so 26 years ago, I'm going to give you a very short version because it could be a little bit complex. We started as an SVA security business where we did retail guarding per se. The business gradually evolved. So what we actually did is every time I needed a service from somebody, I'd pay somebody to do a service. Let's use the second business we bought. We got involved with health and safety. I ran health and safety. I paid another customer. And when the account got big enough, we then bought the business. Then we started SVA Consulting. About a year later, we were doing legislative training, health and safety, first aid, firefighting, ranking, staking, all the legislative stuff where you were compliant with law. Got into a business. I went and bought a business because we had too much work. Then I went and started a forensics business. We started getting into high-valued customers. We started doing polygraphs. We started doing lifestyle audits on people. That business got too big. I went and I bought a business. So I saw smaller businesses which I brought people into our business, and through that I created some new partnerships. So initially we started with the three original partners, which is the S, the V, and the A, which is Mornay Smith, Shawn Venter, Mark Alexander. Those are the three businesses. First partner passed away in a motor vehicle accident in 5 years.
Sorry, Shawn.
I started off as a 10% shareholder, by the way, just to give context.
Okay.
Then I went to a 20% shareholder when we bought our financial partner out. When that first partner passed away, I went to 50%. And my whole life works around numbers. 3 years, I paid out the first partner. First 5 years, and for one of the partners passed away. 7 years, I bought our partners. Within 7 years, I owned 100% of the business.
Sure. Within 7 years.
Within 7 years. So I'm a big numbers person. You'll see even this year, 5th year of my born-again believer. I'm turning 55. 25 years in business, going for 26 now. So 5 times 5. So everything about my life always revolves around numbers. And that's how the business has just evolved to those things. And the irony of this whole thing, nobody ever knew that the SVA would now be Shawn Venter and Associates.
Wow.
But not what we call it. It's a bit of a laugh that we have about amongst the business partners. Then we started the forensics business. And then it brings us to the last business we started about 13 years ago. We decided, listen, we can't keep dropping people on resources, that we had to get involved with the technology. We have access to data. We've got people in certain positions. And we started growing a platform where we now manage like mega data of touch points of where different people work in different positions. So to give you in a nutshell, in the DP world, one of our customers, we supply a resource, we develop software. They drop, that's their delivery manifests into the back end of our software. Our people are equipped with scanners and tablets, and then we blind count all the scans. The reality always was we needed 3 people. If you've got a transporter, if you've got the security guard, and you've got the distribution working together, you can steal the stock. So what happens now is our people are scanned with the scanners. Once they've dropped the manifest in the back end, they're scanning the stock. So 2 things are here. They don't know who's going to scan the stock, and they don't know what they're counting, which takes that whole thing to a bit of a blind count, which now helps the principals. The reality is if you don't have stock, you can't make a sale. So we don't want to lose the stock. And the whole business has really evolved to that. We pulled the holdings in about 13 years ago. So So the holdings company owns the 100% share in all those entities. It was just to get that segregation between the different businesses, because a lot of clients don't always necessarily want to put all the eggs in one basket. If I know what I know now, I would have actually given them all separate names instead of SVA training, SVA consulting, SVA this. I would have given them all completely different names so that they couldn't see the connotation to it. And that's where we are today. We have a successful business.
Well done. I have to commend you on that. Even your positive demeanor today. With our previous guest, we were actually having a chat about how do you stay inspired? How do you stay motivated in business in South Africa? And what's your source?
Sure, people. People inspire me. My energy is around people. So if you're around the right nucleus of people, of which our partnership is, we stimulate each other. Listen, we can't always come to work in the best mood every single day. But I do this every morning. I wake up. This is what I do. I choose happiness. I try and fix what I'm in control of, and that's what I'm not in control of, I leave. I think a lot of times in business, people are always focusing on the things that they cannot fix.
Exactly.
I'll use this analogy always with my staff. I'll hold up an A4 page, and I'll put a little black dot in the center, and I'll say, what do you see? And it's probably about a 60-40 split to the black dot. And so what about the white page?
Exactly.
So I think it's just where we focus.
Imagine all the energy you're losing by focusing on what's going wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's why encouraging is a big thing. I'll give you an example. I'm training with somebody at my house. I don't know if you know Joash.
Yes.
So now he's busy doing side raises. So he has to get to 12. So I'm finished and I'm encouraging him. So he's going to 10, 11. I go, two more. He ended up doing 17. And I said, what is the lesson that you learned over here? As soon as you encourage somebody, you can do more.
Exactly.
And I use the connotation to the form of a wife. That's why we need a wife to encourage us, inspire us. And I think if you've got the right wife to do that, you can achieve much more as a man. The reason why men don't achieve what they need to achieve is because they're not inspired and encouraged by their spouses. It becomes more of a competition as opposed to a form of encouragement. But I don't want to talk about submission over here.
Maybe another
later.
episode,
Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
But Shawn, quickly, this 26-year journey wasn't just plain sailing. What, number one, inspired you to start this? And number two, we'll get to number two now. Let's first find out, why did you start and how did you start?
I have to say, only through the grace of God. When I was a youngster, I always had this picture in my head, and it's about what you behold, you'll become. So I always saw this picture. I never wanted to be a sales rep, but I wanted to drive around in a car, and I wanted to visit customers. And exactly what I do now is exactly what I'm doing now. The opportunity presented itself. So I was a policeman first for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Which, by the way, I absolutely loved. If I have my life over, I'll do that police again.
Okay.
So I've actually no regrets. And it's as a result of that, I got shot at 2 or 3 times. My wife said, leave the police. So I went like this. I said, find me a job and I'll leave. Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, 4 interviews. So I went for all 4. I got all 4 jobs, by the way.
Okay.
I managed to choose the one job, but that's how I got into the security industry. And I was there for about 2.5 years. And Game, which was one of our first customers, we approached them with a business opportunity. Said, there's an appetite, can we start a business? And that's how I got my first opportunity. And I think it's just about always, I must want to say, being at the right place at the right time, first of all. But the thing is to see the opportunity. And there was such a trump card for me not to go. And I'm actually glad that I did, because the company that I worked for literally quadrupled my salary to stay. And I still took the chance and I left it. So I don't actually want to work for a boss. I want to work for myself. And lo and behold, if I'd stayed there, I don't know if I'd be where I am now.
Exactly. Your quadruple then would have been worth what today?
Nothing.
So, Shawn, that is inspirational. Now, you mentioned something about one needs to look for opportunities. A lot of people say, but I don't know, I can't see opportunity, I'm not creative enough. Do you agree with that statement?
If we're all made in the likeness and the image of God, and we have the creative power of God, then I think the limitation is in your own thinking. It's in your own mind. I believe this thing, we all have the same thing, we all have time. The same amount of time, 24 hours a day. You decide what you want to do with it. And I think you'll generally find the people who don't see the opportunities are people on social platforms all day, on Instagram, TikTok. So you can't see it if you're there. And for me, myself personally, the way I used to get all the opportunities to be around people. And it's funny, we were actually talking about this the other day, is that probably 70% of my opportunities came from, yes, and hear my heart when I say this, I don't want to say insignificant people, but I want to say that people that were not per se established in business environments. It was always up and coming, somebody who had an idea, somebody had a thought. That's where all my business opportunities came from.
So question, do you think there's a lot of people that have got great ideas but no execution?
I think that's exactly the problem. But also I think people are a little bit, the execution comes from you believing in yourself. So if there's no belief in yourself, you can't execute, because everything in you will tell you that you can't do it. It's like faith. You have to take that first step. And when you take that first step, the second step will come and the third step will come. But everybody's a little bit afraid to take that first step. And I think it could be a lot of things as protectors and providers for our families. We don't always necessarily want to take that risk. Maybe the reality for me, it was easy to take the risk because my wife at the time was earning more money than me. So that was like a big delta. Yes, and this can't happen forever because I'll be crucified here before I'm 30. So I think that was a big driving force for me as well. So even though I took the risk, I was able to take the risk because my wife still had a bit of a stable income. So yeah, I think that we all get the opportunities. It's just to take that. Maybe one other thing that I maybe want to add to that. To take those risks, you also need to be around the right people. And one thing that I did well in my life, I love old people. I can sit with old people and just listen to their life stories, their testimonies, what worked. And I think for me, a big thing was I always, my crowd was always older people. Even though I was younger, I had to take a lot from the older people. And I think when you take that advice and you just sit there, so what I used to do, I never used to take all the advice. I always had some of my own ideas. I'll take what I'm thinking and what they're thinking and try and take that and apply it. And then bounce that off people and say, is there something that you think will work? And then push for that.
So also you learn from them. You learn from their life, mistakes they made, lessons they've learned, and so forth.
Yeah. So I speak to Chad, my eldest son, often. I'm going, I don't read Grant Cardone, 10X, Robbins. I'm going, it's all the textbook stuff for me. It's not some, I don't want to say that I don't read it, but it doesn't inspire me. I'd rather go to someone who's been through that journey and say, what were the challenges? What did you learn? What was this? Testimony, there's nothing better than testimony from people. And not only that, I don't read. I think the only book I read is the Bible. I don't even know if I'm finished it yet. Because every January we get back to Genesis and then we take it from there.
So Shawn, on this, you're talking about life lessons and so forth. Have you had a couple of lessons these last 26 years?
Yes, school fees. School fees.
So share a little bit.
So maybe I'll tell you the biggest lessons that I've learned is don't get involved in a business that you don't have control of. So I had a lot of people with business opportunities. I funded a lot of businesses, but I could not actively be involved in that business. And the thing is, as soon as you got an individual who's running the business and you've got somebody who's financing the business, there's no buy-in because he hasn't put skin in the game. So, and I would probably at least 10 times, if I must tell you how much money I've lost, plenty. That's probably been my biggest lesson with regards to business. And if I can't actively be involved in that business, I won't get involved in the business. So that's probably the biggest lesson. Any other lessons?
What major pitfalls have you experienced in SVA in the last 26 years? Your number one challenge in SVA in the last 26 years?
Encouraging people. It's not easy because everybody's at a different stage in their life. And maybe use an example now, maybe because it came up this morning where we got a bit of a cell group going at our office. So we got an office of about 60 people, and this morning there were like 50. We normally get everybody, we close the office from 8 to 10, and then I'll do it. So every second week it'll be spiritual, and then every alternating week we'll talk about something about business. I'll normally try and pick up something that we're battling with, if it's like commitment or tasks that are not finishing, stewarding of their time, arriving. So I'll take all those type of business principles and put it into a lesson and rather speak to the masses of it as opposed to speaking one or two people about it. Now that I've given my life to Christ and I've changed myself, because I think your whole life, let's talk about marriage life. We have this conversation with our wives. When you change, I'll change. I don't like that about you, but when you change it, I'll change it. And to realizing what I've realized now on my journey in the last 4 years is that we need to change as people first. Because as soon as I changed, the whole environment started changing. So it became a lot easier for me to encourage my people and to do things with the people, to also have a lending ear. Also got to have the discernment, because everybody comes, you can't fix everybody's problems, but it's that whole thing. So encouraging the people is probably the biggest part of it, which has become a lot easier per se to the way it was in the last 22 years. And then another thing that I've also learned with the pitfall is about a thing called perspective. So we 60 different people looking at the same thing, but we're all looking at it from a different lens. So how do you sit down and understand what the different lenses are and then make something of it for the greater picture, for the greater good of the business? So perspective is also this. I'll bring it back to a husband and a wife. So you're both looking at a problem, and the husband's got this continuous fight about being right about what his perspective is. But you're two separate people looking at the same thing, just have two different viewpoints. And if I just learned this very young in my life and say, how do we come to a compromise with that instead of having the fight about who's right and who's wrong? So those are probably the two biggest things: perspective and encouragement.
So Shawn of 26 years ago, who was Shawn of 26 years ago? And who is Shawn of today?
Oh no, it's chalk and cheese. Yo. I don't think I should tell you about the Shawn of 26 years ago. That's how I was naughty. But I do believe this, because we often ask this, to my friends ask me this question. I've had favor my whole life. And I'll continue to ask God, I'm going, why the favor my whole life? I just had more favor when I started the business, especially financially. But I've always had a heart for people, and a serving heart for people. I'll always leave whatever I'm busy with to always try and help somebody else. So even though, if I was putting into context, being a born-again believer now, the first 4 years where I've reunited my relationship with Christ, as opposed to then, it wasn't that I was never a believer. But I had favor here, and I've got more favor over here. But it was, I had to be in both of those areas, because the posture of your heart always needs to be correct. So that favor always carries the posture. So if you have that serving, giving, loving heart, I mean, you'll even see in environments, I don't shake people's hands. I hug everybody. So I go, okay, sorry, I'm a hugger. Not everyone wants to hug, but sorry, I'm a hugger. So it's, I think that nature of who Christ is now was probably always a little thing that was underlying in me. And to what it was then to what it is now, I've just have more of a biblical understanding of what favor looks like and what it means to build a relationship, what a relationship is with Christ. Because it's the relationship that I have now, I had favor, but I had no peace. And where I am now, I've constant peace. If it makes sense what I'm saying. So you can't explain inner peace to somebody unless they have it.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at peace. I'm content where I'm in my life, where I'm in my business, where I'm with my family, where I'm in church.
So, out of SVA, Shawn, how many families are being provided for because of SVA?
So we've got about 1,600, let's call it security verification agents in that space, and then head office staff. We're about just over 60, and then obviously 5 business partners. Maybe 5,000 people, families that you feed. It's a big responsibility, and I think if you spoke about earlier on what drives you, it's exactly that drives you. I can't be reckless and silly the way that I was pre-2022. I can't be reckless the way I did. It's stuff that works in you. You have a responsibility on all the people, and maybe that's possibly why I said the favor. I mean, I went to a stage, I almost lost my business 3 times. On three occasions where I lost big contracts. And listen to the irony of this. Every time I lost the contract, what did I do first? I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking for maybe 3-6 months, get the business right again, and then I carry on with my nonsense. 2 years later, do the same. Lose another. So I lost it on 3 times. Another big contract. Stopped drinking for 4 months. Thought the business I'd get back on track, and then obviously now the last time around, I was just broken. I went through a divorce, and it's probably the darkest place I've ever been in my life. And that's why I have this hunger in my calling to help broken men, whether it be divorce, addictions, anything. I think sometimes we have this perception that men are strong and actually we're not, we're weak. And when I was in that dark place, it's like something that you can't even explain. I'm going, I never ever want to go through this myself personally again, and I never want another man to go through this. And isn't that the beauty of everything that I went through in the last 30 years, is to be that testimony, to tell people that, listen, just, bring God into your life and everything will be okay. But it's also a process. We're not switches. You can't switch me on and off. So it's a whole process. It's how we gradually started to change. And then, and currently I help a lot of men. So I run my own men's group, which I run once a month from my house, where I've got a nice mix of, I've got a lot of youngsters. Because this is the second part is, why didn't I have this spiritual insight into my life in my 20s? But I think the way we were brought up, it just wasn't around there, because there was just too much religion per se for the sake of that argument. And I want to be that voice to the younger generation. So it's a nice balance. We've got youngsters, we've got middle age, we've got elder people. And then I'm also involved with the church with on the Kingsman Conference. And then any way I can get involved with anything related to me, I'm always available, and I always make time. And it's funny that when you make time for those things, all of a sudden you've got all this extra time. So we always have this mindset, I don't have time for it. But I'm going to make time for it, and you'll see all of a sudden you have all this extra time. And I'm going, please don't go to Instagram. Please don't make a look at Instagram. It feels like a magnet. I actually got to literally switch it off. And my daughter says I got to pick up at school at 2:15 in the afternoons. And it messes up the whole flow of my afternoon. We get back at 3, then she already says, watch Dad, 1 hour Instagram until we leave at 4. Yeah.
So Shawn, you said that you've got a set of 5 partners. So as we all know, that partners do quibble every now and then, or we've had guests on the show where partners have done them in with millions and millions of rands, or they sold business, or this, or that. So how's your relationship with your partners, and what's different with your partners?
Praise God, we've actually never had that problem. So we're five alpha males, I must tell you. We're all very strong-willed, all got strong personalities. But one thing that we've always had in all the partnerships is that we can collectively get around a room. There's always respect. There's always integrity. There's never a tone. Really, there's none of that. And we can sit around the table and agree to disagree. The nice thing is that once you've completed that conversation, we will come out with a common goal, because if people can just grasp this, the beauty of that is 5 different viewpoints. So you're tackling any type of situation that you're looking at from 5 different views. The outcome must be favorable. Whereas opposed to maybe 1 or 2 of you, or you and your wife, or in a business, and any 2 of you are looking at it. So it always comes, and we've never ever had a quibble. And then the second biggest thing, you're talking about stealing, is greed. We don't mess with the money. If we take 1 rand out, then it gets split, whatever that case will be. If we do this, it gets split amongst the partners. So there's never ever been, I think a big thing, as soon as it's that mistrust with finances within the business, where you think the one is taking more than the other, because there's always this battle with partnerships, is that, I'll use an example, where these people normally run away with money, it's normally somebody's putting all the money and somebody's running it operationally. So the operational guy thinks, listen, I'm doing all the work, but he's getting all the money. But he put all the risk initially. And that's where those squabbles comes. And now he thinks because he put all the money and he's entitled to 80%, he's doing all the work. But if it wasn't for him doing all the work, he actually wouldn't even have his 80%. And I think that's where a lot of businesses get it wrong. So to answer your question with us as partners, I can't even think of one where there's even been like a quibble or an argument or a walk out of a conversation and we're saying, I'm upset with somebody. Never. Not in 26 years. It's just something I wouldn't allow.
Well, that's unheard of, right?
Yes.
It's unheard of. So that's commendable. Well done, Shawn. Also, you mentioned something like a couple of minutes ago about you went through a divorce. So if you're comfortable that we can touch a little bit on that.
We can touch on it.
Because how did that affect you, and how did that affect your business?
Yeah. Praise God that I had four partners. And then they literally carried me through that. So it was, I got divorced. I was in this bit of a dark place for a year. And I think if it wasn't, the beauty is they can see what you're carrying. Another one of my business partners also went through a divorce that I helped him through. So it was very relatable. So it was easy for him to understand what I was busy going through at that time. And I think that's the beauty of our partnership. We're all very like-minded people. So without even asking, everybody just picks up a load. If it makes sense what I'm saying. So nobody was giving me space, let him work through it, he's busy with this. And I mean, they were always there for the encouragement, always there for the word. So if it wasn't for them, I would have probably wouldn't have got through it. And very much, even to the state 4 years ago in 2022, the 25th of March, when I became a born-again believer, thinking about how it actually all panned out, the way God orchestrated all of this divine appointment, is that I literally retracted myself from the business for 2 years. Not that I wasn't there. So let's call it, I was present, I was there, but I wasn't present. And they help me both through this up. I mean, transformation of your thinking from your old ways is not something that happens overnight. I literally pushed myself into serving. I pushed myself into cell groups, pushed myself into every single prayer group. I was at church serving every single Sunday. I had to, because Fridays were my triggers. So that, I mean, the devil can't create anything. So all he wants to do is isolate and distract. My biggest thing, I could never be isolated. As soon as I'm alone, then my thoughts are running away with me. And we're going, maybe just once. And in that 2-year period, that's where that whole transformation took place. And then 2 years ago, and obviously, but in hindsight, what I did do, I was always a very hands-on person within the business. I could probably micromanage a little bit. And the reality of what this allowed was to pull and allow everybody to do what they can do. And it was probably the single best thing that I ever did, was to empower all these people. And if I think of where our structure is now in our business, we've got GMs in 5 of our different units that are in their late 20s and doing a magnificent job. I sit and think to myself, why didn't they do this a long time ago? So
it's amazing, Shawn. So if we look at, obviously, Unfiltered is about stories like yours. It's about inspiring business owners, or business owners who feel like they're busy losing it all. They're busy going through a divorce. They've got a partnership that went south. Whatever their situation is, what advice can you give to somebody who wants to start a business, but there's this fallacy that you need a whole bunch of cash and resource to start up a business, number one. Number two, a business owner currently finding themselves in a downward spiral where they lost a big client, or they've got a challenge within themselves or with a partnership. What advice can you give to those two set of people?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is your mindset when you start in that business. So let's say per se that you want to start something off the cuff. It's actually a bit of a difficult thing to answer, because I would give a different scenario to a different type of environment. But maybe I can answer it like this: is you need to be able to serve your people. So the thing is, when I say serve your people, mean that the very thing they can do, you can do. That's why you're serving them. I'll use an example. So we talk about David, Solomon, all the kings in the Bible. They had what? Servants. What did the servant have that everybody else didn't have? They had access. Access to what? Access to royalty. Access to the spoils. So that access also, they've put themselves in an environment to change their thinking. So I think if people can just have a mindset of, if you want to come up with a solution or a business, what problem am I going to solve? Because this is what I believe is the blessing that we have is to change people's lives. So how are you going to take the opportunity they have? If it's not going to change someone's life, then I'll be a bit reluctant to get involved in it. If it's going to be something that's just going to reach yourself, then also a bit reluctant, because it's not going to be what it needs to be. The best businesses is to get involved with the correct people. So maybe I've gone a little bit around the bush to answer that question, but unless I have a little bit more understanding of facts of what the limitations are, I can be a little bit more descriptive on how to give advice, but maybe just say what I would do. Because I also don't like to give advice, because this is what people do. So they go, Shawn told me to do that. Oh, yeah, really? No, it didn't work, so but you told me. I'm like, come on, have a heart. Sometimes I'll even do a white lie. And I'll go, you know what, that thing happened to me, and this is how I handled it. So indirectly, I'm giving him advice, but I'm telling him that I did it. So if he comes back and says, well, that worked for me, I don't know what didn't work for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. So applying a lot of wisdom here, right,
You
Shawn?
have to, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But do you think mindset plays a massive role?
Everything's in your head. Everything's in your head. Your biggest limitation is your thoughts. Because you're talking about thoughts, or what? Thoughts become strongholds. strongholds become demons. Like it's just in a nutshell. So what you think, what you're thinking will play out into what you're saying.
Exactly.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So your heart comes from your thought. What comes out of your mouth comes out of your heart.
True. So coming back to the question about a business owner finding themselves in a very lonely space right now. They don't have a business partner. They're on this, it's them and a couple of team members. If we look at the general small business in South Africa, but down a downward spiral. Obviously, there's a lot of self-doubt creeping in. There's maybe even suicide. There's maybe addiction coming to play as well. Do you think that person needs to keep on isolating themselves in the environment they are?
No, you can't. This is the question you actually need to ask, is why are you there? How did you get there? Because there could be a lot of... So if something's pushing you there, then this is my perspective of it. You need to take that very thing that's pushing you, you need to take it out of the equation. Whatever that might be. So it might be an addiction. It might be an affair. It might be... Men are strange creatures. Something puts you there. Men don't just evolve to something where they are. Something will take you there. So the very thing that took you there, they shouldn't have taken you there. That's the thing you take out of the equation. I'll use an example. So when I gave myself to Jesus, when I was like at the bottom of the pit, when I was busy with all my nonsense, I don't want to betray too much. But I used to cry to God and say, I can't do this anymore. And I don't ever want to say I audibly heard the voice of God, but this is what I felt like every time in my spirit, like this soft voice, like going, my son, just stop drinking. So the very thing that took me to everything that was wrong was one thing. And when I made the decision and I voiced it out of my mouth that morning, all of a sudden, when I took that one thing out of my mouth, life changed. But also, listen, but that was just the first step of faith. There was still work to be done. So now to make sure that I'm not isolated and that I'm not distracted. And I'm not around the environment that I'm in, that I'm not in the locations that I'm in. So there's still a lot of, so that was the first part of it. But if you just realize that you can't do it in your own strength, because this is what it was, God, I can't do this in my strength. I need you to help me with this. And that's how I actually got through it. So to answer the question is, you need to understand what put you there. So I don't believe anybody just has a rough time. It's bad business decisions. Why did you make the bad business decision? Or if you don't have counsel that you can bounce stuff off. Can you not steward finance? Can you not steward your time? Can you not make good business decisions? Have you got a pornography problem? So there's a whole lot of variables that you've got to consider, because 9 times out of 10, if you take these scenarios that you're talking about, there's an underlying point that's taking someone there. And then the biggest thing, well, for my thing, I want to tell you a quick little story. I was in Rivers Church in 2018 in September. And what's the pastor there? Pastor Andre Olivier. And they're talking about rejection. And I don't, and he's got 1 point, 2 point, and I'm going, there's 10 points. I can relate to 8 of them.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my word, because I'm asking, well, what's wrong with me? And I look at this thing, the 8 points of rejection, and he says, I want everybody who can relate to this to stand up. And I'm going, not a chance. I'm not standing up. Somehow the Holy Spirit pushes me up. I'm standing up in the church, and now I'm standing, but there's a whole lot of people. So, I mean, they never do this. He says, I want us to pray for these people. So there's a chap sitting next to me. He stands up as well, and he touches my shoulder. And I put it, the first time I can actually say, I felt like the presence of God the way I know it now. And he starts praying in tongues. And I'm going, oh my word, what's this guy doing? I hope he's not cursing me, because I never knew about it. And the point that I was trying to make is that it's for the first time I understood the underlying point of what it is that I was battling with. And once I understood that the rejection was the problem, then I could work through the rest of the stuff.
And then you could also work through finding your true identity.
Absolutely, which was as a result of, so I had no identity. So where did I find my identity? In all the wrong stuff, in the pornography, the alcohol, I can go on and on and on. I don't think there's anything naughty that I've not done.
Well, we're going to leave that open for interpretation, right? So I think it's safer that way. But at the end of the day, I think that's a valuable lesson. If you're struggling with something, number one, look at your identity. What's the source of your identity? And work on that. Get wise counsel. Leave the addiction. Leave your strongholds behind to become a better version of you, the intended version of you.
And the reality is that you're only going to find your dent in the bubble. So you want to talk about transformation? Read the word. If your mind says this, go find the contradiction in the bubble. And if you want to be in a relationship with your wife, how do you build a good relationship? To converse, just to speak. So how do you get into the nature of Christ? You need to read His word, and you need to around people who are in Christ. So when you're in that environment and those associations, that's what helps change you.
Well, a
that's what the relationship is. Yes,
yeah. Absolutely. Exactly. So, Shawn, I've got a couple of questions for you. Rapid fire. No thinking, just answering. The biggest lie people say about success is what?
Easy.
That success is easy.
No, success is not easy. I'm just teasing. We've got one word answers here. The biggest lie about success. Yo. Cut me off. Success is hard work. If you want to be successful, I'm always going to bring everything back to people. Just surround yourself with the right people. So it's like a poverty mindset. If you stay with poverty, you're going to stay there. You can be over here and be around wealthy people. What is going to start changing your thinking?
Exactly.
So bring it on to people.
Most people fail because
they don't commit.
The most powerful thing a person can do is
pray.
What matters most in life?
Jesus.
If your life was a movie, what would be the title?
69.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
You were born what year?
1971.
Okay. Close. Shawn, final word to our viewers. What final word of encouragement can you give to our viewers? And even an invitation, if we dare go that route.
Just commit. Whatever you put your mind to, commit to it. So it's more about execution. Execution is the first part, and finish. I'll give you an example. You go to gym. You got to do 3 sets, 12 reps. And you get to 2 sets. And you're thinking, I'm tired. What are you doing? You're not finishing. So the biggest thing that I want to tell you is, first of all, you need to start with execution. And whatever you start, finish it. Don't get something halfway, because all you're doing is you're training your mind not to finish anything. And it starts with small things. It's like if you put food in your plate, don't put too much food in, you're not going to finish it. I'll just put it enough. I'd rather go back for seconds. It sounds like a simple thing, but it's training your mind to start something and finish it.
So many words of wisdom. To all our viewers on Unfiltered AF, Shawn Venter is a classic example of determination, never giving up, faith-based, plugging himself into where it matters, facing challenges, even overcoming certain challenges in his life, where he still managed to build a successful business. From a small business 26 years ago to an enterprise business today, SVA Holdings, employing more than 1,000 individuals, giving them opportunity, giving them employment, giving them resources to ensure their lives in South Africa continue. Shawn, thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for inspiring our viewers that if you do find yourself isolated, if you do find yourself in that pitfall, in that challenge, in that stronghold, that the words of Shawn Venter today will encourage you to make a decision to change your life. And that will in turn most probably change your business as well. If you do have any questions, drop them in the comment section. We will get to them. We will answer them to the best of our abilities. We'll get some of those questions to Shawn even. And then I want to encourage us all. We all know someone who needs some inspiration. Take this episode, take this channel, go and share it on all your social platforms. Go and like and subscribe this channel as well, so that we can reach more people. We can inspire more people through conversations like we're having with Shawn. Shawn, it was truly an honor. We're excited about this episode. Thank you so much. And we look carefully at your journey moving forward as well.
Thanks, Alkin, and thanks for the opportunity. It was a privilege to be here today. Thanks for your time. Thank you so much.
To all our viewers, see you next time. Go like, share, subscribe, all those nice things. And we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Unfiltered AF, real ones rise, no mask, no flex. Lights on, mic check is next. This is the truth, Unfiltered AF.